Hey you guys. So I've been in a very nostalgic mood. I've been rewatching a lot of the shows, of course, that I watched as a kid. Once Upon a Time, The Vampire Diaries, the originals. And the thing is, as a fan of the Vampire Diaries universe, I've watched all the shows, rewatched a lot of them. Legacies we're not going to talk about too much in here. But the big debate amongst fans is, which is better, the Vampire Diaries or the originals? The originals is a very successful spin-off show of the Vampire Diaries. The originals basically, started off from Vampire Diaries season 4. We see Klaus head off to New Orleans, and that's where the originals kind of picks up. Like, Klaus wants to regain his empire, and now he has found out, like, he is going to have a child, and he has the chance to kind of reclaim this throne and kind of take New Orleans back. And along the way, we meet Marcel, we meet Cammy, and we meet so many other characters, Davina. I think the thing is, though, amongst fans, you definitely have that divide, which is better. Vampire Diaries, the originals, they definitely go head to head, like, at least to me. It depends on the day, because the Vampire Diaries is one that's the show that's the one I started with. It holds a special place in my heart. I definitely see where, as the seasons went on, you can definitely see some faults within there. And even with the originals, like, even though that started later, I love the Michaelsons. I love them so much. And even with the characters that they've included, like Marcel, Davina, like, they have just added a little bit of extra character development and history, just within the characters that we already know and love within that show and within this universe. And so, it is always head to head for me, but I always sometimes the originals just comes out a little more on top, because I do enjoy I would say, central theme more so of the originals at times. And the Michaelsons just have a special place in my heart. Because if you look at the central theme when it comes to the Vampire Diaries, of course, I think, as you could look at the whole show, you see the bond, you can definitely see a family element, but you have all these other characters as well. And so the real central theme around Vampire Diaries is essentially romance. You have this iconic love triangle of Elena, Damon, and Stefan. Essentially, who's gonna kind of have Elena's heart. You also can include Catherine in there if you want, from the 1864 time frame, and even within there, that in that time frame, who's going to have Catherine's heart, Stefan or Damon. And so, a lot of that central theme in there is definitely romance. There is, a family element in there along with friends, being your family and everything. But if you look at the Michaelsons in their show, the originals, of course, there's romance within there, but the strong central theme is family. You constantly see the character development grow amongst the Michaelsons, particularly when it comes to Elijah, Rebecca, and Klaus, because we do see them a lot more too when it comes to the Vampire Diaries, so we just know them like a tad more. But, we also see Cole, we see Freya, and we know a little bit more when it comes to those other characters like Davina and Marcel. How are they kind of a family? And essentially, what would you do for your family? And how does always and forever, what does that mean? What is the extent of that? We just get, I think, so much history, like how the Vampire Diaries gives you so much history for I would say all your characters. When it comes to Catherine, a lot of our villains, Stefan and Damon, we get a lot of that backstory. We get a lot of that when it comes to the Michaelsons. We get a lot of the history when it comes to why are they the way they are? Why is Elijah the noble one? Why is Rebecca the hopeless romantic? Why does Klaus feel like the black sheep? And we just get to understand just like a tad more. If maybe you just don't understand when it comes to the Vampire Diaries, alone, why is it that people maybe enjoy Klaus or some of these characters more? You can definitely see once you would start watching the originals, because you get a sense as to the vulnerability and kind of that family trauma, if you will, everything that kind of goes down within a family, the inner workings of it all. If you have siblings, you can definitely relate to it in that sense. If you don't, like me, I relate to it in the sense of just the family drama portion of it, because you can definitely see where, in the aspect of myself, I wouldn't say I relate a lot to Klaus, but in some aspects I do. I relate a lot when it comes to Klaus and Elijah, because, when it comes to my family, I see a lot of that black sheepness, because like my side of the family, me and my parents, we are very disconnected. We are just very disconnected from our family. We are very much the black sheep. But I'm also someone who kind of keeps to my word, someone who is very much like an Elijah in that sense. And so we can just kind of see that whole family aspect. But not only that, I think we get a little bit more with the Vampire Diaries. We do, of course, get the werewolves and we get the witches, but I feel like we only get so much. Like when it comes to the werewolves in season 2, of course we get a whole pack. Tyler is essentially, though, our main werewolf, I feel. And then Bonnie is our main witch. Of course we have like our guest witches that come on once the Gemini Coven comes into play. We have Liv and Luke, but we don't have, like, I would say, a big coven. And that's one thing I think I really enjoy just like a tad more when it comes to the originals. We see a lot more werewolves. Of course, a lot of them do become hybrids, but we just get a lot more werewolves. We get a lot more of like this like werewolf pack mentality. We get a lot more witches, and what do some of these covens do? A lot of them practice different magic, because we do have the Harvest Coven. We learn about some of these different witches, and like this is the magic that they kind of use. Here's some dark magic that's used. And that's the aspect I really like, because witches are kind of that supernatural being that I really enjoy. And so learning a little bit more about that lore, and especially with this setting of New Orleans, that has so much history and like supernatural like feeling to it when it comes to those stories. I like that particular aspect to it as well. So, the whole Vampire Diaries universe is great. Legacies definitely is one where it's very, the seasons vary. Some I think are fine. Some I think, definitely could have been changed up a bit. But when it comes to Vampire Diaries and the originals, those two are very stacked up with one another. But fans enjoy them both. Of course, people prefer one over the other. They're both fantastic. And like I said, for me, sometimes it's hard to choose which one I prefer more, because, is it me who just starts out watching that is like, oh my God, but this is like, this is what started it all? Or is it the me that's like, but these are all the characters that I love, you know? So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Feel free to leave your thoughts down below, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.